In today's video, let's look at what the mother wound is all about. So in a nutshell, it's longing for the mother's love that was never provided in a healthy way to a child growing up, and that causes a wound, usually a wound in our heart, in our psyche, in our spirit, and in our mind. Children require a lot of deep love and connection. It's part of being human. We need to have that growing up, and if we don't have that for whatever reason, we're going to suffer. So the mother wound is the loss of healthy mothering. It doesn't really exist. And depending on how you look at it, this wound is equal to, and sometimes even worse than, a mother who has abandoned her children or somehow left the scene or passed away. Because at least in that mourning or grieving of a mother not there, there's a kernel of stability in realizing this is the way it is, versus living with a mother who's still in the household, who perhaps is beating you, very unpredictable, sometimes nice, sometimes mean, emotionally smothering you. Maybe you're a victim of emotional incest, or she's just very distant and withdrawn. She has clinical depression, or extremely narcissistic. Talk. It's all about her. Where does the child fit into any of this? That's when the wounding begins. The wounding has already started. And overall, just never feeling like you've really had your mother's approval can lead a child to always feeling like they're never good enough, of course. And so they're always in a mode focused on trying to do better. I'm not good enough in any way, which of course filters now into every aspect of their life. So a mother wound applies to any child who is born and raised in a dysfunctional environment due to the dysfunction of the mother. This could mean she has her own emotional issues. She's perhaps not physically well. She could be an alcoholic, a drug addict, and so on. And she's going undiagnosed. She's not dealing with it perhaps. And then the child is now sort of screwed, so to speak, because their own parent, their own mother is not dealing with her own stuff, and hence it gets passed on down generationally. It gets passed on to the children. So when a child grows up with a mother wound and basically feels like I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, probably that's why my own mother is cold and distant to me, or neglects me, or beats me, they're going to internalize that. Then that child is going to have a lot of self-esteem, self-image issues to work through as they get older. And although this is not an actual diagnosis by a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist, it indeed, however, causes enormous, sometimes lifetime problems. One of the things that starts up right away is the child becomes codependent, especially if there's not a father, a healthy father, to step in and balance this out a little bit. So when I mention the codependence, it's partly because the child may now start thinking they need to caretake the mother, be there for her, help her in her life because she's not functioning well. That's not the child's responsibility. It can get confusing because perhaps a mother is providing basic needs for the children. She's giving them food, she's cooking dinner. She makes sure they have clean clothes every day, but the children are not picking up an attachment in any genuine way from said mother, and so now the child is wounded because of this. But that child may grow up and think, I don't get this. I mean, she was there every day, she was home, she did cook and clean and so on. So this kind of wounding can cause a lot of confusion for children. This then typically can lead into some sort of perfection issue for a child. They just feel like they need to excel in life, especially in school, because everything's a mess at home, so I gotta prove that I'm worth it and I can please my mommy. And then you're not sure how to relate to your mother because of this wound you've taken on because of her wounding, generationally passed down. And so you're not sure what this really means. Well, I feel loved this month, but the month before that I didn't feel loved. So what's next month gonna be like? That's a hard way to grow up. Then perhaps because you can't really connect with your own mother on an emotional level, likely as you get older, this child, now an adult, will have trouble connecting with good friends or a mate on an emotional level. They want the friends, they want a boyfriend or girlfriend, but how do I do it? I don't know how, I don't have the practice. They could be a great worker, for example. The boss and coworkers love them at work, but if you ask them how they feel about their working skills, they'll say, I could do a lot better. I'm surprised my boss still keeps me on. They don't realize their own self-worth quite often. So you can't really believe you're valued by your coworkers because you weren't really valued by your own mother, right? So you're recreating what you got used to growing up. Hence, you're not going to be able to see that other people do value you. And it can affect girls and boys differently as they're growing up. For girls, there could be the feeling that I live in an oppressive society. My mother doesn't seem to be able to have power and authority in anything. She doesn't really even like herself. Well, maybe that's a gender thing. Maybe girls are not supposed to have that. A girl can take this energy on. A young girl could grow up thinking that self-sacrifice, denying their feelings, because their own mother is not role modeling for them all the potential that women have. Their own mother may be hiding from life in various ways. And do you think a little girl growing up is not going to notice that? They're going to notice that indeed and take that on because their primary female role model is their own mother. And boys already growing up, generally speaking, in societies are taught big boys don't cry and you better just be a man and tough it out, and we don't want to know anything about what's going on in here in your heart. So it's usually always coming at them anyhow. The one place they could hopefully learn about their feelings and the safe expression of feelings, and that it's okay to have feelings, is from their own mother. So now if you have a mother who's not assisting a young boy with this throughout their childhood, which generally is where this is learned, well, then you have this mother wound that I'm describing. Then that child is going to have a lot of self-esteem, self-image issues to work through as they get older. This absolutely can be done, hopefully with a therapist where one can really dive into all of this and the impact of this sort of trauma as we're growing up, trying to overcome a mother wound. Some goals for some kids growing up like this and who are now adults is to learn self-validation, love yourself, learn how to do lots of self-care. If your mother's still around, learning how to set healthy boundaries with your mother. Knowing that there's a you there, and if you're still interacting with your dysfunctional mother, that you feel safe and confident in your healthy boundaries. However, some children may decide to go no contact. And of course, exploring your inner feelings, that inner child part of you that we always have with us. The more we can process it with a therapist, the more likely we are to work through the wounding. So kind of a sad subject here for sure. Please leave me any comments below. Have you been wounded by your mother growing up? I'd like to hear what you have to say in the comment section. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.